Under the watchful eye of police and curious neighbors, 2 black families moved into a South Boston housing project today. The families of Bessie Payne and Elizabeth Clinkscales are being viewed as test case for Boston's broader desegregation effort. Ironically, that effort is being challenged in court because the Boston chapter of the NAACP says it doesn't go far enough. Marcus Jones has our story.
By all appearances, this was not a typical moving day in South Boston, not for the 2 black families that moved in, or for their mostly white neighbors. The people who live at the Mary Ellen McCormick housing development aren't used to seeing black faces here. The last black family that lived here moved out 10 years ago, complaining they were harassed. Today, uniformed and plain-clothed police were here to keep the peace.
Go on the sidewalk. Go ahead. This is all private front.
Doesn't seem to be any trouble at all. Everything's been going smooth. Guy brought us out some juice, soda, ice, everything, right at the perfect time because I was about to die.
Some of the tenants that live here?
Yes.
That's great, yeah.
Very nice. Nice people.
The 2 families that moved in today are not a part of Mayor Flynn's plan to desegregate the city's public housing. They qualified for emergency placement because they had no place else to live. But opposition to the mayor's desegregation plan is mounting among blacks as well as whites.
That 1988, we shouldn't have to be going through a situation now where we're trying to identify black people to go into any housing development anywhere in this city or any other city in the United States.
The Boston chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People has filed suit in federal court to block the mayor's desegregation plan. They say the plan is unfair to some minorities because it does not include people who were discriminated against before 1983.
They say they can't identify prior to 1983, and we're saying that there are a host of folks that have applied for housing and were discriminated against, and we think that those people are to be identified, and we think there ought to be some type of monetary compensation for those individuals.
A spokesman for the Boston Housing Authority said today many applications filed before 1983 were lost when the city switched to a new computer system. He added, the city will begin an outreach program to investigate the claims of people who believe they were discriminated against prior to 1983. There is some irony in the NAACP's opposition to Boston's housing desegregation plan. It was, after all, the NAACP that sued Boston to desegregate its schools. Therefore, it only follows that the city might have expected the NAACP to support its efforts to correct racial discrimination in public housing. But the NAACP's concerns over whether the housing plan goes far enough is evidence that, in Boston, when the subject is race and politics, there is no sure thing. For the 10 o'clock news, I'm Marcus Jones.